Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to an Eco View on Tech, and today we'll be doing another unboxing, well kind of unboxing and overview of the NZXT S340 or the Source 340. This is a newish case from NZXT, released later this year, kind of a budget range, but as you will see it's an incredibly good value for what you get. So let's dive right in. I've got the box right here, so this is what you'll be expecting when you get it. Kind of unusual for this. Usually you get just the normal sort of grey cardboard with black printed on it, but they've actually gone for the full colour sort of glossy print look on this, which is really quite nice actually. On the other side it shows you what the case looks like in white, and yeah, it's kind of fairly minimal like the case itself, the box, but yeah, this little glossy colour bit's quite good. So let's look inside. Oh, there we go. We've already got it out. We've already got a system inside it, just to show you. Let's just bring you in a bit closer. So I've already got my default system already in there. That's just my old Z77 Pro 3 ASRock motherboard, my Intel 2500K, Corsair H60 Special Edition, and GTX 770 from Palette. So yes, it is indeed need for an upgrade, but that's not what we're here about today. We're at the case. So what I didn't really realise before is that pretty much the entire case is made of two materials. You've either got this glossy black, piano black sort of look that's on the outside, or you've got this matte black that's at the top. Pretty much they're the only two different materials you'll be having in the whole system. The back's the matte, is the glossy, the front's the glossy, the other panel, back panel's glossy, this glossy, but then in the inside you've got almost all matte black, same as this, so they're the only two materials you'll get, so it's fairly minimal. So I'll bring you around to see the front. As you can see, what has become the sort of norm now with NZXT cases is the lack of optical drives. I've kind of ditched them in favour of downloadable media like Apple have done with their iMacs and MacBooks. This, as you can see, it's all once again that piano black mirrored finish you can see there. It continues along, just it's got one panel here and another panel here and another panel along the back, so it's fairly nicely made. I'll just take this panel off just so you can see what's underneath. Just give it a bit of a tug and there you go, that just comes off like that. You can see the black inside, but that top plate is indeed metal. As you can see on the inside, you've got the good old magnetic removable dust filter for the front. So this will be the intake. So as you can see, inside of my old case it's still a bit dusty, but you can see you've got room in there for a 240 or 120mm radiator there. You can see I've got my 120mm radiator at the top there, so that will be sucking in cold air. It'll be cooling, so you don't have to, you're not cooling, if you have it at the back as an exhaust, like I had in my old case because there was no front mounting, it will be, you're sucking hot air made by the graphics cards through the radiator, making it fairly inefficient. This way will be moving cool air in. It will be pumping warm air into the case, but as you can see in the inside, we've got two 120mm fans that came with the case, and that will be plenty to remove the excess heat. I'm not too concerned about the graphics card warming up or anything like that. So you can see that the mounting brackets here are designed for either, you've got room for 120mm fans or 140mm fans for the top and the bottom, and then at the bottom you have the radiator cage, which we'll be getting to in a minute. So now if we just move, this can just be replaced if you turn it around that way, like that, and then this piece comes on just like this. As you can see, it is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but not really as bad as I was expecting. Alright, let's take the removable back panel out. I just want to point out one thing. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but there is a slight dent here in the paintwork, and it's exposing the aluminium underneath, and it's a bit of a shame, but it's fairly minor. But that's the one quality aspect that I did notice when I was taking it out of the box. But other than that, that's the only real niggle that I had. So let's just move these. They've just got the good old NZXT thumb screws that don't come out all the way, so you don't have to like lose them or anything. And then you can see my world's untidiest cabling management there, but oh well. So you can see that this plate here allows you to get all your big cables, like your 24-pin one from your motherboard, all through here fairly neatly without the need of grommets or anything. What I found really impressed with was all the fans and I/O cables that came with it. They were already all nicely cable tied in and cleaned up. They were already tied against it, all the various points, so they were as clean as they could be straight from the factory, which I thought was really nice. So further down here you can see your 3.5 inch hard drive bay. I think there are some screw points there for some more 2.5 inch solid states if you need them. But I've got my Western Digital Caviar Green in there at the moment. There's room for another one underneath it. And you can see all the various tie down points all along here, around the edge, more along here, and I think there might actually be a few at the bottom as well. This is where the power supply just slots in here. You probably will have to run the cables out the back, plug them in, if you've got a modular one, plug them in outside, and then push it in once it's all plugged in, because trying to plug in all the modular outlets here is really quite difficult. So you can see you've got a really quite nice big cutout for the motherboard. So you can see I've got my cooler for the H60 there. There was plenty of room to install that, and if you had a bigger motherboard, or actually, because you'll see around on the other side my motherboard's unusually thin, the CPU socket would be further to the left, but as you can see there's plenty of room there for that. So right, if I take you now around to the back, you can see another thing I wasn't really expecting was that the back plate is also done in this glossy black look. The fan grills, even these PCI bracket points here, they're all that glossy metal look. So yeah, really quite nicely finished overall. If I turn it around a bit further, you can see there's room for a 120mm fan, not 140, 120 only. That comes pre-installed like that. There's a lot of room here for I guess airflow, but I think they're for the thumb screws. I guess that isn't a huge problem if you're going to make sure that the front is an inlet. You're not really going to worry about dust coming out through here if you've got a positive air pressure inside it. If we move down, you can see that, like many sort of newer cases these days, the power supply gets mounted or gets screwed to this rectangular bracket that then you can now remove with the thumb screws, which is quite nice. In fact, I think these thumb screws are also the same type as are on the door panels, so you can unscrew them without them coming out, so you don't lose them. You can see how the motherboard's configured so that we've got the graphics card taking the second and third slots down. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PCI slots altogether. And if we move you around, again to the front, you can see the very large window that they have provided, which is very nice actually. It's just fairly clear, as you can see. It's not very glossy, but it's not smoked or anything like you do see in the Corsair series. So now we can see inside, you can see the fans. There's another fan at the top here that you can just see the top of there. Got graphics cards. Here are the two solid state ports. So this is quite a nice addition because a lot of stuff isn't on display. So the small amount that you do, like the motherboard and your fans and stuff, which are shown, you also want to have your, I guess, solid states shown as well. And it's really quite nice addition, especially if you've got something like the Samsung Evo series, which are this sort of silver aluminium look. They would actually look pretty nice sitting on here. You can see they just get removed like this. You can then, once you take it out, you've got your mounting screws, so you just screw them into the bottom. There's some screws included. And then once you put it on there, you can just whack it down like that, and it just slides in like that, secured. And then you can just use the thumb screw to screw it in and keep it like that, which is nice. Now you should be able to see right at the back here, there are the holes for your SATA cable and peripheral power cable. There's one hole here and one hole here. Depending on how your power supply cable is configured, you may want to arrange it so that you've got two separate peripheral cables coming out of your power supply if you can, so you don't have to see a cable going across here. Mine isn't terribly pretty at the moment because I'm using a older motherboard, cheap motherboard that is unusually sort of thin. It's ITX, well it's ATX, as you can see it goes all the way down to the bottom, but it's sort of narrower. I'll eventually upgrade into the Asus Maximus 7 Ranger, and then that goes all the way up to the edge, so you don't see all these cables here, and the SATA cables moved around to the side, so it would all look a lot cleaner and neater. But anyway, I'll show you that when it comes around in a few months. As you can see, as I was saying at the front, you've got your mounting ports for the radiator and everything like that, which is nice. So now I'll take you around to the top and we can look at the I/O port. Alright, so here we are at the top. I probably should have mentioned before, but this slot here goes, as you probably saw in the when I removed the front plate, this slot goes all the way down to the bottom. There's another one the same at the bottom, and that's where the air comes in. So it's not too restrictive, and it kind of cancels out the noise of the radiator through this sort of kind of narrow tunnel bit here. So if you come up to the top, we've got a nice power button here, clicky type. You can see there's a white ring LED around the top, which is actually really quite nice. That lights up. Two USB 3 headers, a headphone jack and a microphone jack, and a hard drive status LED. Now, one thing I did notice about the front cover is that the lack of the reset button. I don't know if that concerns many people, maybe overclockers who have to reset the computer a lot. But then again, you could just hold down the power button and it will force shut down the computer. Also, one thing I noticed about these headphone jacks, they're fairly, they're not the best made in the whole wide world. It does feel like you do need a lot of pressure to put them in, and it feels like there's a lot of metal rubbing against metal, and they're not the most nicest thing in the world, actually. It feels like you're trying to force something through a piece of metal when you're trying to do it, but that's just another small niggly little detail. And then here you've got a better view of the top panel. You can see it's you've got room for 120mm or 140mm fan. This one again comes pre-installed with the case, which is nice. So if I just move this around so you can have a look overall. So it is really quite nice for a budget case. This costs 85 Australian dollars. You could probably find it for around, I think, 60 US dollars and around 50 British pounds. So you can see it's definitely low budget, but the amount of metal that you get with it, really there's not much plastic in the system. Say compared to something like a Corsair 350D, which is again smaller. It's made of sort of aluminium similar to this. It's got a window, but it only supports a M-ATX motherboard size. And I think only comes with one or two fans, so they're the same or less fans. That it was good. It's going to cost you considerably more. I think that's around 130 with the window Australian dollars. But and you're getting a smaller case. The build quality I would say is just as good. You do have you've got the same magnetic filter like the Corsair ones do. You've got this nice sort of shield here for the PSU to keep your cables really tidy, which is, you know, another really great thing about these new NZXT cases. Very reminiscent of the H440, which is the really popular NZXT case in their H series. Even though it's a different series, they've kind of, it does feel like it's like a younger sibling of it. It's kind of got that feel about it. But yeah, definitely, if you're looking for even low or low budget or high budget, definitely check out this case, because it is really quite, you know, what you're getting for your money is really quite amazing. The build quality and the materials are fantastic. Bit of a fingerprint magnet, but I mean, that's not too bad. It's fairly easy to wipe off with a damp cloth. But yeah, I've been really happy with it. I've gone from the Bitfinex Shinobi without any toolless drives or anything like that, and it had your traditional, you know, optical drive bays at the top like that, all facing this way, and then you've got your hard drive cages below it. Fairly generic. It could hold more hard drives, but I don't think I'm going to be using more than 2 3.5 inch hard drives in the future, moving on to solid states. Got room for another solid state if I need it. So 2 other things I probably should have mentioned as what comes also in the box. You get your NZXT sort of component list and installation thing. That's quite good. Tells you the fan support, fan installation, it tells you water cooling and what supports it there, which is quite good. Got a list of all the screws that come with it. It's in a million languages, but it also tells you the power. It came with a Molex 3-pin or 2-pin fan headers if you don't have enough on your motherboard, which is really quite nice. And yeah, so that's all in that, which is really good addition. Oh, it's got the cable connection as well for your motherboard. If you've lost your motherboard manual, you can know how to install the headers. That's all that came for documentation or the sort of warranty junk or anything like that. And then it also came with a little NZXT box which has all the screws in it. This comes in the hard drive cage, so if you happen to be missing it in the box, check the hard drive cage, make sure it's there. And that just comes with hexagonal screws for the power supply, and then low profile screws for the hard drive bays, and then screws for the motherboard and everything like that. So yeah, so if you like the video, please hit like and subscribe. We'll be coming out with some more stuff soon. Most importantly, the Maximus Ranger, Maximus 7 Ranger from Asus. We'll be doing an unboxing and overview of that, and then we'll be putting it into the system and making it all look a lot nicer than it currently is. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.